Introducing our finalists for this afternoon's Peoria Open. The 5th seed, looking for his first PBA title from Rockaway, New Jersey, Jeff Morin. He'll face this year's AC Delco champion from Tempe, Arizona, Jess Stayrook. Next up is the 3rd seed from Ocala, Florida, 4-time champion Roger Bowker. In the semifinal game, we'll see the hottest bowler on tour from Middleburg Heights, Ohio, Dave D'Entremont. And our tournament leader established a PBA record with his 42-game average of 251.29 from Indianapolis, Mike Aulby. That's our outstanding field for this afternoon's Professional Bowlers Tour telecast, as we return for the 16th consecutive year to the River City of Peoria. Yes, bowling plays in Peoria. I'm Chris Schenkel. I'm here with Bo Burton.
And Chris, it's a solid prize fund this week, and I think if there's 1 week that the players can roll the 304, the $100,000 bonus, it's right here, so we're ready to go.
With the number 5 bowler, Jeff Morin, going against the AC Delco champion. Our very first show of the year. This is our 5th. Jess Stayrook, 35 years old, originally from San Diego.
Chris, and just one note, you saw D'Entremont come in there with that 300 sign. He rolled 4 during the tournament. A 5th one he was predicting would be breaking the all-time record and a bonus of $100,000. Now we have Jeff Morin, first shot.
Three regional titles, looking for his first national titles in the 6 years that he's been a PBA member. 30 years old, 6-footer, good shape, 175 pounds.
Kind of a shaky start. You don't miss the head pin and average better than 230 all week long, but nerves on the first shot. He's left himself a spare. I bet you he hasn't shot very much this week. The 1-2-4.
Oh, yes. Crucial mark for Jeff Morin here in the very first frame. And now, here is Jess Stayrook. He already has won $54,710 this year. Pumped.
The Rock has it all together. He's a very strong man, 5 deliberate short steps, and he kind of delays his swing, a little bit like Earl Anthony, but then he snaps through it right at this point, right down to the target line, inside-out swing, and he's on a roll, and he leaves nothing in the bag.
On this championship pair, he's on the left lane. Crossing over and failed to trip the 4.
Well, balance is such a key element to a player's delivery, and Jess, you'll see him slip on his pivot step right there, and he's a little bit off balance, tops the ball, goes high, and avoids the 4-6 split, gets away with an easy spare, the 4-pin.
This is our very first game. If you just joined us here on ABC, the winner of this will meet Roger Bowker, 4-time champion, and then Dave D'Entremont, 3rd consecutive appearance on TV, and then the great Mike Aulby as the tournament leader. Jeff's best finish this year was 10th at the Quaker State 250 in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Jeff, a nice solid style, and the thing I like most about his game is the push away down the target line. Now look, he's locked his elbow and his arm all in line. Now watch how he comes through. He does not bend the elbow, and that keeps the ball on the target line, much like the great Gary Dickinson. I always like that kind of delivery.
Best ever finish for Jeff was 2nd. 1993 Cleveland Open. Stayrook, strike and spare, 3rd frame.
Stayrook with the full fingertip grip, tucks his pinky finger next to his index finger and catches it all. That's where the wrist action comes in. He just gets the tremendous wrist action. We saw his grip. Now watch the 4-pin. Just love tap out the 7. The 5 saws out the 10. Stayrook has strike, spare strike, but he trails by 10.
Okay, the double evens it up at this point. That's the very first game. We're in Peoria. We return to Peoria on the Illinois River, the landmark bowling center with its health club, with its wagering parlor, with its arcade of games, and the big game for Jeff Morin now, with the double up shooting in the 4th frame to take a lead. Well, he looks zeroed in.
He does, Chris. He's a very controlled player. He's down the line, very simple style. He just proves what accuracy can do out here on the Pro Bowlers Tour. You're seeing two diametrically different styles, the power of Stayrook and the accuracy of Morin. Now let's take a look at Morin, how he's really playing the lanes. He's pretty much a straightaway conventional player. You're going to find him right around the center. He's going to slide in this area. His target's going to be right around the first arrow. He'll tie them all together pretty straight. Watch that shoulder point right down the target line.
Okay, a 4-bagger. 20-pin lead. Next Saturday, live at 3 Eastern, ABC Sports presents the first jewel in bowling's Triple Crown. Walter Ray Williams Jr. and the Sports Big Guns take aim at the PBA National Championship. Next Saturday here on ABC Sports. Well, 2, 4, 7, 8. Oh, what do we do here?
Well, Chris, he has to stay down with the shot, and Stayrook locks that right leg at the foul line, loses his balance a little bit, and leaves the 2, 4, 7, 8. A tough spare. Right now he trails by 24. If he doesn't convert the spare, he'll be in big trouble.
Consistently making spares, a big key.
Stayrook, a much different style than we see in Jeff Morin. Stayrook, the power player. They're both deliberate with their approach, but then Stayrook lets it all hang out. His natural ability. The man was a carpenter by trade, and he has the powerful arms. He's going to start way over here on the left side. He's going to end up shooting the ball right between the 2nd and 3rd arrows.
A scout named Goodwill.
The action of the head pin to the right sideboard comes on across. A shot we couldn't carry 5 or 6 years ago, but it's just commonplace today.
Now, Jeff Morin. Four in a row and then that.
Boy, does that even a matchup very quickly. The ball slides off his hand, and he's playing that extreme outside line. It is dangerous. High risk, high reward. Here he opens that shoulder a little bit. We were talking about the previous shot. He keeps that right shoulder closed. See, he's opened the right shoulder. He loses the ball off the bottom of his swing. This slides off into the moat. Needs to recover to stay ahead in the match by 14 pins.
Attaboy, Jeff. You feel that way after each professional has that heartbreak when they come back with a beautiful shot like he just made.
Well, people wonder why a player would play that extreme outside line. Number one, you're forced to do it by the oil pattern. There's a heavy oil pattern in the center of the lane. Jeff Morin, not a power player, needs to get as close to the dry area, which is basically the outside couple of boards on the lane, to make his ball effective.
With a spare in the 6th frame, now strike in the 7th of our first game from Peoria. Jeff Morin going against Jess Stayrook from Tempe, Arizona. We'll be back. I'm Chris Schenkel, and I did mention earlier that this was our 16th consecutive visit to the landmark lanes here in Peoria, and in each case, each of the 15, we've had exciting matches. Brian Goebel won it last year in dynamic form, and we expect the same today with these two bowlers and the other three to follow. Here's Jess Stayrook now, who is the AC Delco champion of 1995, along with winning the Brunswick Memorial Open in 91, Erie in the same year, and Seattle in 89. Now let's go to my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr.
Thank you, Chris. Roger Bowker. We just saw Jeff Morin with the ball on the channel. You're going to play the outside line, too. What's the reason?
Reason being that we have a better angle to the pocket there. Our ball hits pretty hard from there, but like you said, you throw it in the gutter, you get no reward. I had about 7 gutter balls this week. At least this week down TV show, I won't be the only one, maybe.
Morin didn't scare you off?
Not at all. I've been a gutter player from way back when we were young, Bo.
Uh-oh. Back to you, Chris.
Okay. So with that strike, Jess Stayrook takes the lead by 6 pins. Key coming in the 6th frame when Jeff Morin, of whom we'll be watching soon, put one in the channel on the same right lane. Came back to the next shot to get them all. All right. So he's back in the lead by 4 pins here in our very first game.
Well, it's tough to do what Morin just did. He threw the ball in the channel in the 6th frame. He's continued to trust his shot out there on the first couple of boards, and he's kept himself right in the match. Entertaining, to say the least. 4 pins, the lead by Morin, 2 frames to go. The full grip by Jeff Morin. See, he doesn't have quite the wrist cup or that wrist cock that most of the power players have. He's pretty flat.
All right, Jeff Morin with 3 in a row with that foundation strike in the 9th, leading by 14. But here is his competition.
The Rock cannot afford to miss here in a high-scoring environment. A spare is almost like an open frame. He has a possible 256.
Dynamite. Tonight at 10, 9 Central, Jeff Fahey stars in the new show critics and audiences both love, The Marshal. Then tomorrow night, special network premiere on the ABC Sunday Night Movie. Harrison Ford stars in Patriot Games. That's tomorrow night on ABC.
Well, here's the frame that separates the average pro from the top pro. You have to perform in the 10th. Jess Stayrook needs a strike to take the lead.
Battle right to the end to earn the right to bowl Roger Bowker. And then the winner of the next game, Dave D'Entremont. Then on to the final game against the tournament leader, Mike Aulby.
The situation for Jess, if he strikes on this ball, he would force Jeff Morin to throw 2 strikes in a decent count. Right now, Stayrook can extend the lead to 16, but he cannot shut out Morin.
Charles Atlas pose.
Well, he's physically strong, and he's using that strength to stay in the match. Right now, all he needs is a couple of pins here to force Morin to get 2 strikes. The count's almost immaterial at this point. Morin must throw 2 strikes to win the match.
Closing with power. Success, 256.
Well, the Rock did what he had to do, and that's throw 2 strikes. He got all 3 in the 10th. Now Morin needs 2 strikes and 7. Anything less, and he loses.
1 more and 7. That was on the right lane where he channeled one earlier, 6th frame.
Good trust there, good in the clutch, and really that was an equipment strike. He sawed out the 6 pin into the 10, and Chris, without the new reactive resin balls we have today, that would have been a weak 10. There's the biggest change in the scoring environment we have on the tour today. Now with 1 more strike and 7 pins, he'll advance to the next match against Bowker.
About as much emotion as the 30-year-old has shown, looking up at the score sheet, very visible to the big crowd gathered here.
Well, remember what happened the last game we did in the championship round, 1994, right here, Chris. Goebel threw 2 strikes for a potential $200,000 bonus. Then he got 6 pins on the final ball. Morin's in that same situation. He needs at least 7. Can't afford the short count. Timeout. So he wins by 1. Holy cow.
Oh, was I wrong? He let up on the speed a little bit.
He tried to aim it, Chris. He got a great break.
Okay.
The 8 pin fell out. He wins by 1 pin. Look at this. It looks like we're going to have a tie match. Remember, he needs 7 to win. And you're going to see 4 pins remaining at one point. There they are. And in the last moment, something knocks out the 7 pin. Jeff Morin wins by 1. 257-256.
Dramatic first game as this ABC Sports presentation of the Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. And Jeff Morin, the 30-year-old who's looking for his first national win, had 9 strikes. The loser, Stayrook, had 10. So it was a tenacious effort by that young man from New Jersey. All right, let's go to my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr.
Thank you, Chris. I don't know about loser. I think he was beaten, but not a bad performance just for a lefty anyway.
Yeah, well, I had a pretty good shot out there. I made 2 really errant shots, and I paid for it. It's a high-scoring week, and it's a good finish. I was glad to be here after my poor round on Friday morning, so it's a good week.
How about when you're sitting on the approach there and Jeff needed 2 strikes and 7? Do you think he'd get them?
Well, he was pretty clutch all during the week, and I really didn't know. I was hoping he wouldn't, but he did.
All right, he'll be back, Chris, and now on to match 2.
All right, and we go into match 2, and it's nice to see the gracious people, these professional bowlers, win or lose. Roger Bowker mentioned something about age when he was interviewed by Bo. He's 41 years old. He has 4 national titles. Get this, 16 regional titles. His mom and dad watching here in the Landmark Bowling Center. With an unusual style, the 10 pin.
Pretty aggressive shot by Roger in the very first frame. He's also playing that outside line. 2 similar styles here. However, Roger with many more championships under his belt than his opponent, Jeff Morin.
Well, can you do that? One hand?
Well, one hand I can do it, Chris, but the reason he got involved in that is basically he was playing on so many dry lanes and he was pointing his ball down the target line, and we'll show you that when we get in a shot on the approach of why he does that. It's pretty interesting because Roger could play the big hook or the straight shot.
Winner of the first game. He flirted with disaster in the 6th frame on that lane, but came back. Jeff Morin. Field of 152 started here, and you had to average 229 to make the final match game action.
This fellow has averaged 260 during the week on this championship pair.
High game of 290, whereas his opponent had one of the 24 300 games. 3-6.
Right here, Jeff just gets inside of target. He had been placing that ball outside the first arrow at 20 feet down the lane. That time he was inside the first arrow on the 6th board and actually avoids a split. Gets the 3-6. Cross lane should be an easy shot with his style.
257 to 256 victory for Jeff Morin. And now, Roger Bowker. Best finish thus far this year was 85th at the Quaker State 250.
The unusual setup of Roger Bowker, he extends that index finger, holds it with just his right hand. See the left hand off the ball? The reason he does that is so he can push it down the target line.
Let's look at his profile.
And one of the important parts of our game is the setup. You see him setting up right here. Watch him go straight on through. Now, interesting, he'll go push the ball right along the target line. He'll open the shoulder up to the amount he's going to swing the ball. This is actually excellent form. It looks a little different, but it gets the ball on the target line in good direction, still 95% of this game. The key for Roger is to keep his hand underneath the ball and keep his swing inside out. Don't let his swing get away from his body. Then he performs with the best.
And a 2 with a sleeper 8.
The 2-8 could be a little more difficult here at landmark lanes. When you have a high-scoring environment, there's more lubricity in the center of the lane, and he needs to get the ball over in that 2-8 zone, have the ball carry straight back into the 8. Once again, crossing the center of the lane can be tricky.
Roger Bowker. Last win was 1993 in Rochester, New York. Jeff Morin wanting to win his first national title. Smooth.
Boy, he looks confident, Chris. You know, that first victory on television loosens a player up. He's well practiced. He says he practices over 100 games a week combined with 5 days of bowling out here on the tour, and that's dedication. That's what gets you the top. And he knows what he wants to do. He puts his hand in the ball, sets his feet, much like Earl Anthony, and goes. No negative thoughts. Here we go. Get a good rhythm. Bit tentative. Watch, he just wants to guide the ball along the target line. You still have to free swing it. Our Olympic coach, Fred Borden, is the one who is really the proponent of the free arm swing, and I say you're absolutely correct in today's environment of urethane bowling balls, urethane lanes, plastic pins. Right now, Jeff's waiting just a pinch for his bowling ball. Got caught up in the 20-some pins back there in the machine. There's always 10 pins waiting up in the rack and 10 pins that are being cycled, so back on the spare.
Okay, capacity crowd at Landmark Bowling Center in Peoria, Illinois. We're in our second match. Very close. It's all even. We'll be back. Oh, and I believe in reciprocity. Thanks. Roger Bowker is going against Jeff Morin in our second match. It's even now. Roger on the right lane. Fourth frame. Spare working. All right. That's a beautiful shot, Bo.
Sure is, Chris, and you see Dave D'Entremont as you look at Betty Bowker and Mel Bowker looking on. They're proud of their son.
They're getting a kick out of being on camera. They're delightful people. Their son's got the right attitude. He mainly enjoys sort of hanging around his pool down in Ocala, Florida. I'm all for that. Okay. That double puts him out to a 10-pin lead here in Peoria. Next week, it'll be the PBA National in Toledo, Ohio. Leaving the 2-7 on that right lane. Jeff opened with a strike, spare, strike, spare. And now this split, let's see what he does with it. The right-hander. Straight toward the target. That one right, Bo. Here he is, Bo.
Well, Chris, I'm with the Big D here, and Big D, you look awfully sharp this week. And you thinking about shooting a 300, or are you going for the match?
Well, if I can get off to a good start, I'll think about the 300. But right now, I'm just trying to win the title.
Well, it's $20,000 on top for a title, but a $100,000 bonus.
That would be unbelievable. I mean, last week was great. That made my year. Now I can just have fun.
All right, back to you, Chris.
Okay, beautiful pocket hit by Jeff Morin, who needed it because he's trailing by 23. But his opponent is up with that one-arm style. Double working, shooting in the 6th frame, second game. Can go out to 33 with a strike here. And he does it. The former bowler from Rockford, Illinois, now bowling out of Ocala, Florida. 33-pin lead by the 41-year-old. We mentioned his last win, Rochester, New York. The others were San Antonio, Rochester, New York, and New Orleans. So he has 2 victories in Rochester. The scouts are out today.
Well, Chris, I think that's what's really made the scoring so good here at this bowling center is the carry has always been great. Head pin to the left sideboard and watch the action. This is the reason you put lift and power and hook on a bowling ball.
Dynamic music to go along with the shot. Okay, we'll be back soon. Player of the year, Mike Aulby, our tournament leader. 1979 Rookie of the Year, 89 Player of the Year. He's great every year. Last year was a little tough for Mike. Bouncing back, however.
Here's a man that has to bounce back to stay anywhere close in this match. If he strikes it off the sheet, which is a very realistic thing to do here at Landmark, you'll have 237. Bowker going at 230 pace.
Trailing by 33 again. Can cut it by 10 with a strike on the left lane.
And the left lane's where he's had a little bit of trouble. You see a spare in the 2nd, a spare in the 4th. He conquered it there in the 6th frame. He needs to strike again here in the 8th to stay close in the match. He's saying what happened. Well, he got it out in that dry area. He's playing that outside line. And as we said, high risk, high reward. And what he needs to do is really take a chance to make it. He's got to get it over in this zone here and bounce him over in the 4-7 zone. So he has to go for it. He has to gamble everything, even if he throws the ball in the channel. And he needs extra speed. All these things don't work well for Morin, but he's got to go.
Open in the 8th frame. 128 through the 7th, 134 through 8th, and trailing now by 56. Well,
2 schools of thought in going for the big 5 there, Chris. Slide the 4-7 over in the 6-9-10 zone. I think in that case, I think he'd sent it over to the 3 on the right, and he'd have had a better chance. Now, Roger Bowker has a chance to lock up the match. He'll go to the semifinal against D'Intermont if he can strike here.
Okay, coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, it's Elegance on Ice. As we bring you the dance competition at the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships. There will also be Women's World Cup downhill action, and are those ladies doing great? Featuring America's Peekaboo Street and Hillary Lind. That's all coming up next on ABC Sports. six-bagger.
Yeah, Roger just eating up Jeff Morin, and really it's Morin's undoing. Roger and everybody else knows that you're going to shoot some big scores. We saw 256, 257 the first match. Bowker a possible 270 here. Morin 3 disastrous mistakes in this match. The best he could shoot is 194.
After a 257 in his first game victory over Jess Stayrook.
Boy, you're going to see two different styles in the next match, Chris. You got Roger Bowker, the wily veteran, is kind of unheralded, but he has 4 national championships, and he has a bunch of regional titles. He has 16 of those, so he knows how to win, and he's got the straight shot going. You're going to see D'Intermont with the power next match.
Though to go on with those 16 regional titles, he finished second 27 times.
And that's how you cut your teeth to get ready for the Pro Bowlers Tour, or stay sharp, as Roger did for many years as a part-time player. He lived in the Rockford area, then moved down to Florida about 10 years ago, the Ocala area. Managed a bowling center for a while, as we see Jeff Morin trying to finish out the match. 174 if he strikes.
Jeff Morin, shrug of the shoulder. Far different from his first game, 257.
Well, he proved himself in the first game, though. He came up there, he needed a couple of strikes, and that's what every player needs to do out here in the tour. You have to get over the humps slowly but surely. He's got over his first hump of making the championship round. Now he proved himself under the gun. Had a little letdown, but he'll be back.
Okay, thanks to the crowd, the capacity crowd here at Landmark Bowling Center. After a 174. Jeff Morin. String them right on through.
Well, just as we expected, we had a high-scoring first match with 79% of the shots being strikes. Roger Bowker carried that forward this match. One more strike, he'll be high 260s or 270. And he'll need all of that against the formidable foes he has in the 2 final matches if he gets that far. Dave D'Intermont, our leading money winner, who's bowled 4 perfect games so far this week, and our tournament leader, Mike Aulby.
Roger told his wife, Brissette, that this would be his last year on tour. I get a feeling those plans might change. Mel and Betty, Bowker.
.270 with a strike right here. Roger would be finished with 9 in a row.
Denied the 9 in a row, but it is a big 268 for the winner, who will meet Dave D'Intermont. This week's Choice Hotel Tip of the Week features fire bowler Ron Winger.
ABC Sports presents a winning never gets old bowling tip. Brought to you by Quality, Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep Hotels.
As an older bowler watching the young stars on the PBA Tour crank it up with all that power, you may be wondering how you can generate that type of power in your bowling game. Well, with me is a cranker of the past, Ron Winger, who's a PBA champion, and Ron can still crank it up with the best of them today. Ron, how do you do it?
Well, Bo, I still have that power position wrist action with my thumb up in the cup position. However, when I release the ball now, it's more of a stroke, not a hit.
All right. Let's take a look at it, Ron. First place, Ron sets up with the knees flexed. The key is the good push away, and notice how his wrist is still cupped underneath the ball. Stays straight underneath it, gets the heavy roll, the 6 kicks out to 10. And Ron, here's your release in slow motion. Let's take a look at it.
All right, notice the nice deep knee bend. However, the thumb is straight up, lifting through the ball, out on the lane, and more of a stroking action, not that hitting action like those young kids today.
All right.
That's why I'm still around.
Good enough, Ron. Here's a tip from Ron Winger. If you want to be a cranker today, keep your hand underneath the bowling ball, lift up through it with a solid release, play the lanes properly. And remember, winning never gets old.
ABC Sports coverage of the Professional Bowlers Tour. Brought to you by Kellogg's, with good taste, nutrition, and value, the best to you each morning from Kellogg's. Split Fire, the patented performance spark plug. It only costs more until you use it. And McDonald's, have you had your break today?
Our fifth stop on the Professional Bowlers Tour in Peoria. Second game is finished, and there you see the final score. 268 to 174. 9 strikes for the winner, Bowker. And here's the number 1 citizen, our old friend, James Maloof, Mayor of Peoria, Illinois.
The good mayor, as we look at some of the other finishers, 152 players. We'll look at that average to make the top 24, 229, almost 230. As you see, Steve Wilson, one bad game just cost him. So did George Branham. Sal Emity out of his slump. Jaro steady as ever. Norm Duke. Brian LeClaire, there's a name. Mr. Machine in 12th. The St. Louis Surfer, Adam Mapo. Bob Benoit needs to work on that straight shot. Get through those morning blocks. In the 17th, the Buzzsaw is back in action. Charlie Standish, 3 perfect games in the opening round. Rockin' Ryan Schaefer, always steady. Parker Bone, Hugh Miller, the Green Machine, and Doug Wallace got his brains beat in there in 24th, Chris, but he had a good week.
That he did. Last year's champion, Mr. Goebel, Brian Goebel, tied for 62nd. So what a difference a year makes. Right here, PBA National Championship in Toledo, Ohio, 1 week from today, our usual time of 3 Eastern. First of the 3 Triple Crown events. That's next week. 2 weeks from today, it is so wonderful to go back to Baltimore, Maryland. 3 o'clock start, March 4th, the Greater Baltimore Open. We'll see Dennis Baldwin. It'll be fun.
Looking forward to seeing Dennis again, and we're ready for our semifinal. The Big D, the hottest man on the tour, against the wily veteran Roger Bowker. Bowker definitely the underdog, but anything can happen. Here we go.
Dave DeEntremont, who found out again that winning never gets old last week. Choice Hotels Classic champion. Defeated Gene Stuss in the challenge match for 25. Crossover. And a 6.
He's freewheeling. I watched him all day Thursday as he had a hot day, and he bowled back-to-back 300 games as he finished Thursday evening. And right now, he doesn't pay attention to a bad shot. If one's bad, he says, forget it, I'll just continue to string strikes. So it's off to a shaky start. No perfect game, no 100,000 this time.
Right. And he has to contend with Roger Bowker, who had a big 268. So needs to get by him to get into the final match against Mike Aulby, tournament leader. Right out there. 8 in a row, and here he starts his second match of the afternoon with a strike.
A player like Roger Bowker doesn't lose it. He can kind of lull you to sleep because he doesn't do anything flashy, but he keeps the ball in play. As you see how he got to the top 5, he never was really out of contention. 42 games, first 3 rounds are qualifying, 18 games, rounds 4, 5, and 6 are match play. 42 games, Roger won his first match with 268, second shot in the semifinal.
Roger Bowker, who socializes with buddies at Galaxy Lanes at Horse Country, Ocala, in Florida.
Did an exhibition once there, Chris. Really a nice country, nice people.
A few white fences, right?
Yes, there are. Went out to a fabulous horse ranch called the Oaks.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it.
Last week's champion with a strike in the second frame, Dave DeEntremont.
Well, you see the profile of the player that's dominating the tour. He takes the full approach, all 17 feet, keeps everything right in line. His head and arm are almost in perfect position for a young power player. Look how he drives through. Very little vertical movement with his head, and that's the key. Obviously, one of the greatest wrist actions on the tour, and that's what imparts the horsepower to that bowling ball.
Well, here we go again. 3, 4, 6, 7, 10.
Well, doesn't send it wide enough. He gets the ball between the 3rd and 4th arrows, but he needs to get it out to about the 5th board. It goes out to about the 7th board, cuts right through the middle. David's got to get the ball to the right of the 3, drive it over into the 4-7 zone.
So it's an open 3rd frame for Choice Hotels Classic Champion, winner of $45,000 in that event last week, Dave D'Entremont. Double up shooting in the 3rd.
Roger has struck 7 out of 8 shots on this right-hand lane.
All right, checking out the slide at the line. 3, the 4, the 6, 7, 10.
You know, I think the pin setter just knocked off the 10 pin, Chris, and we're going to need to reset it, but we'll show you how to make it. You got to get the ball over in the 3-6 zone, drive the 3 over in the 4-7, and get some action off the sideboard. There you go. Just do it like this. Roger Bowker, the mechanic, quickly on top of it. And we know that Dave D'Entremont could not make this so far today. Let's see what Roger does with a little straighter shot.
Didn't come up. So, 5 pins. That's the lead held by Bowker, at whom you're looking.
Chris, amazing today that we either see strike or open. We haven't seen a whole lot of spares. When they hit the pocket, they usually get rewarded. If they miss, they pay the penalty. Kind of an interesting telecast. The new high-powered hook balls that hook so sharply at the back end is one of the reasons that you get these, I would say, weird-looking splits.
Breaking up the 7-10.
You know, we saw some interesting shots here, Chris, and just to look back in retrospect, as we see Bowker ripping the 5 out, taking the 7, the 6 doesn't take out the 10. When we used to bowl here with plastic balls in the late 70s and early 80s, we couldn't knock these pins over, but as the modern technology has increased the power of the bowling ball, the scoring environment has jumped dramatically in this bowling center.
Is that good for bowling?
It's interesting. It's fun, it's entertaining.
Okay. We'll be back with more of this match. Ah, yes, ice dancing, wide world this afternoon. Following us. Now let's follow the trajectory of Dave D'Entremont's bowling ball. Way to the left of center. High hit for Dave D'Entremont. He has left the 3, 6, 9, and 10, and dejected. Pin spotter going to work flawlessly. Oh, did knock over a 10 pin just a little bit earlier. What a shot. Spare in the 4th frame. Nelson, here's Bo.
Thank you, Chris Schenkel, our tournament leader and tournament record setter, Mike Aulby. Mike, are you superstitious? And if you are, you should be wondering about bowling this last game. Duke set the record here last year, but then lost the championship match. You set it, and you still have to win the tournament.
Well, I'm just glad to be out here on the top 5 again, and didn't make a show last year. So came in real early today, see all the happenings, have a good time, and go out there and do my best.
He knows how to shoot the big scores, Chris. He shot 300 in Wichita to win the tournament. He'll be tough today.
Dave D'Entremont has come back with a strike in the 5th frame. Mike Aulby, our tournament leader, 22 times champion. Roger Bowker now with a spare up shooting in the 5th frame. 5-pin lead. Hanging on the edge. Boy, that's flirting with it, Bo.
Boy, he's right on the outside edge, Chris, but it's a high risk, high reward. But one thing that makes Roger so good is his push away, his line down the target line. You see it coming right into your home.
Hey.
He's out on about the 2nd board. There's 39 boards in a bowling center. These wood lanes, 42 inches wide, each an inch and 5/32, and he's using the last 2. And if you can get the ball to the pocket at that degree of angle, about 6 degrees of angle to the pocket, that's the optimum strike angle to knock all the pins down consistently.
And that double puts him out to a 15-pin lead. But D'Entremont has the strike up, shooting in the 6th frame of the semifinal game. Next up, Aulby, the tournament leader, against the winner of this game.
D'Entremont, who is on the left side, he'll be over in here. He's going to get the ball right across through that angle, and he creates that 6-degree angle towards the pocket with the big hook. Bowker with the angle on the lane.
And with his next shot, he can take the lead.
Our tournament leader, Mike Aulby, not in the top 5 yet, but D'Entremont, who's in the semifinal match, has $63,000 plus dollars, not including the $25,000 he won at the Choice Hotels last week. And here's the high averages. Some of the top players, as you see, Aulby with that 251 performance this week, vaulted him into 4th place. Now you need Dave D'Entremont. Over here, the big hook. Watch the big change, the inside-out swing, the cup wrist. He needs a strike.
6'1", 215, 33-year-old Dave D'Entremont from Middleburg Heights, Ohio, in the lead. Yes, now we go into the final stages of the semifinal game, Landmark Bowling Center in Peoria. Roger Bowker has a double working, can take a 5-pin lead with a strike here in the 7th frame over Dave D'Entremont. Looking down at the line, checking what went wrong, leaving the 6-pin.
First major mistake by Roger on the right-hand lane. Just softens up with the speed, cuts through the middle, breaks down the 3-6-10, has the 6-10 remaining, and Roger, one of the best spare shooters on tour, if he converts it, will trail by 7 through 7 frames.
Just does.
Roger just pretty much of a standard player. Now he's going to play between the first arrow right in here in the channel. Now watch his shoulder and watch how he keeps his hand directly under the ball, and he'll walk right along this line. No big opening like we see with Dave D'Entremont.
Another 2-8 on the left lane.
One little flaw in Roger's game. He drops that right shoulder a little bit too much. The ball will sail out a little farther than he wants. It doesn't finish on the back end. Once again, he has the 2-8 spare. He's made that once on this lane, but it's by no means a gimme. The ball can hang in the center or hook by to the left.
Roger Bowker, 8th television appearance, 8 wins, 3 losses, make it 9 wins, 3 losses coming into this semifinal game. 15th appearance for Dave D'Entremont. He's 11-11.
Now D'Entremont, see how he'll cup that wrist under, set it up, open that shoulder up. There you go. For the amount of hook he wants to play, he can extend his lead to 19 here.
3-6.
What D'Entremont needs is swing area, and he has it. He just has to trust the ball out there. Didn't get it wide enough out to about the 5th board. As I observed last night, he likes to go out to about the 3rd board, then he has the whole lane.
Okay, a spare in the 8th frame here at Landmark Bowling Center. Next Saturday, live at 3 Eastern, ABC Sports presents the first jewel in bowling's Triple Crown, Walter A. Williams Jr. and the sport's big guns. They take aim at the PBA National Championship. Next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central on ABC Sports.
Dave Traver, the defending champion at Darrell Dukett's Imperial Lanes.
In the 9th frame, big strike.
That shot there lets D'Entremont determine his own destiny in this match. He cannot be shut out no matter what Roger Bowker does here in the 9th and 10th frames. A possible 215, he trails by 7.
A 2.
Roger just a little quick. Threw the ball through the break. Threw the ball through the break. A little extra speed, doesn't get the back end finish, has left himself an easy spare, the 2-pin. He needs to convert this and throw a double to take the lead in the match. 10th frame coming up.
And the winner to meet Mike Aulby for the title here in Peoria. It's a sort of a 50-degree day in Peoria. Sunshine brings a smile to our statistician's face. One of the great surfers from California, Butch Soper. Great bowler, too. But we need to get him on TV again. One or two, Bo.
Superb shot by Bowker right there. He shows his experience. He waited for the shot. The key is don't get too anxious. Don't cut it loose too quickly. Right now he's put himself in a position with one more strike and at least an 8 count. He would force the Big D to throw a double. This is the key shot for Bowker.
Last match, he fired a 268 to Jeff Morin's 174.
Rajo shows his experience there. He waited for the shot. He throws his 2 best shots of the match on the left-hand lane where he had been struggling a little bit during both games, and now he's put himself in a position with an 8 count. Will force D'Entremont to strike.
.204 for the 41-year-old.
Dave D'Entremont, 4 perfect games this week in the 42-game qualifying, a 299 game, and what he needs to do is throw a strike in any count. He must strike on this ball. Anything less, adios.
Pressure.
Chris, he has arrived. I've seen D'Entremont for more than a half a decade, and on that particular shot, when he needed it under the gun, he would short finger the ball. He'd get a little short arm, hit it early, make it break. That time he stayed with the ball, had more extension, stayed low at the line, got the ball down the lane, let the power do the job. Needs just 7 pins on this shot. It's going to be 2 of the best in the final.
That's right. Left-hander against the right-hander for the Peoria Open title. We'll be back with the start. This ABC Sports presentation will continue after this message. Here in Peoria, there you see scores of the first 3 games. Now the final coming up. 210-204. Dave D'Entremont, last week's winner, goes against 22-time champion left-hander Mike Aulby, Bo, and that should be a big battle.
Well, it will be, Chris. No, D'Entremont got the hot. He has the hot hand on tour, 63,000 so far. Aulby's determined to win, and so it's going to be an entertaining match and 2 great champions. Here we go.
All right, the handshake. There it is. Mike's best this year, 14th at the Showboat, where he's won about 5 times over the years. PBA Player of the Year in '89, Rookie of the Year in '79.
I think his most impressive statistic, Chris, is from the #1 position. He has 13 wins. So he knows how to win from that top slot.
All right. Now Dave D'Entremont, who had 6 strikes in his 210-204 victory over Roger Bowker.
210 won't win this one. Not enough. You got to throw some strikes, Big D. Send it out there wide.
Left the 10-pin on the right lane.
That was a sharp, crisp shot, and that's what he's looking for. He didn't want the solid 10, but he made a good shot. As you see how he got to the top 5, won his first match, qualified 11th, worked his way through the top 24, and now he's bowling for the title.
Okay, marking with that spare. Next week, the PBA National Championship, Imperial Lanes in Toledo. 2 weeks from today, we'll be in Baltimore.
When you have a style like D'Entremont, you're not looking for what we call hold area, where the ball's going to settle in the pocket. When you're a power player, you're looking for swing area. And you see Dave with this cupped grip. He stands to the left on the approach, and he's looking to swing that ball. He doesn't want the ball to set up. Watch this angle. This is a real good shot here. He's looking for all swing. Bang.
Last week, $70,000 challenge and the classic winner at Don Carter's All-Star Lanes in Sunrise.
Aulby, 251, broke the all-time record, which I thought would stand forever, set by Norm Duke right here of 248. That 51 will stand for a while.
Doubling to take a 10-pin lead.
Aulby with just a beautiful style, good footwork, a good solid push away. Look how he's pushing that ball right down the target line. You see everything in line. His target is going to be right here. Watch the angle right into the hole. Somewhat different from D'Entremont. He looks for an angle where the ball will skid in the oil a little bit and swing just a little bit. He's not looking for the big break, just the smooth roll.
7-pin on the left lane.
Here's Aulby going quite wide on the left-hand lane. Doesn't have enough impetus on that bowling ball to have that 4 pop out to 7. Has switched to a ball that will slide much more down the lane, giving him more control and hopefully a spare.
Mike's 70th appearance on television. 72 wins, 47 losses, a .222 average. Great performance over the years. A double to take a 1-pin lead.
D'Entremont's strike ball has never, ever been questioned since he came on the tour. I believe one of the best wrist actions I've seen in my 30-some years out here is always his discipline of staying with the shot, his self-confidence, and it all has seemed to come together in the last 12 months. Can open up an 11-pin lead here, championship match, 4th frame.
Okay, official money this year, $63,000. Last year, overall, the whole year, $76,000 with winning at Portland. We'll be back. This is the tournament leader, Mike Aulby. We're in the championship match, Peoria Open. He is trailing by 11. He is the spare up in the 3rd, shooting in the 4th. His opponent, Dave D'Entremont. Three, sleeper 9.
Just got away from Mike. He always trusts the ball. He very seldom ever pulls the ball under pressure. And you can see this ball going down the center of the lane and gets out to about the 3rd board. And it just doesn't have enough side turn to come back and pop a wall shot. As Christopher Aulby, his young son,
CJ,
and the beautiful Tammy Aulby, rooting for their daddy and husband.
Little body English. Christopher liked it. Tammy, with a nervous smile. They drove over from Indianapolis. They'll drive him back home for a day or so.
Aulby gets a great break there. He missed that so far. He made it. He just barely nicked the 3-pin and barely nicked the 9. So let's see if he can take advantage of that break. He knows he got a great break there. It's time for Aulby to get going. This guy is a great winner. As you look at his full fingertip grip, sets that index finger on it, much like D'Entremont, except he doesn't have the wrist action. Cups that hand underneath it, drops that left shoulder back, the amount of hook, and that's perfect.
Last win for Mike. Wichita, 1993. Last time in the top 5 was in Japan, same year. Pete Weber all-time money leader, and you see that Mike is in number 4 million and a lot of 4-4s.
And here's a man that's only about 1 million behind him, Dave D'Entremont, but he's on a roll.
Last week, his biggest week ever. That's 3 in a row, and that's a 23-pin lead.
Just like a walk in the park when you're loose. Pretty easy game. The Big D makes the championship round at the Quaker State, runs all over him in the Choice Hotels last week, and here he is back in Peoria, making a run at back-to-back titles.
3 telecasts in a row. Last time it was Brian Voss that accomplished that. A 10 on the left lane.
Solid 10 to open, 4-bagger, solid 10. Not much you can do about that. D'Entremont with about a 5-degree angle of attack on those 37-pound pins with a 16-pound spheroid. We'll have a 22-pin lead with a spare.
How do you spell that? It doesn't matter.
Pins, P-I-N-S.
Chris Shackle here with my friend Nelson Burton Jr. 21st year for Bo, and we've had a lot of fun over the years.
Key shot for Aulby. Has to stay in the match. He's been a little shaky on this lane. He can cut the lead of D'Entremont's down to 12 pins and make D'Entremont think a little bit.
Oh. Shades of the last game.
Ouch. Those hurt. It's actually the same split for a left-hander that we've seen from the righties. See, Aulby with pretty solid footwork here, but does not project the ball as wide as he wants to. Cuts right through the middle, leaves the 2, 4, 6, 7, 10. Needs to get the ball to the left of the 2, slide it over into the 6-10 zone. Nobody has made this shot so far today. He needs it here.
And one of his friends and backers, Don Mitchell. Little body English on that one, Bill.
Yeah, I know it, Chris. Tammy and Christopher look on. Christopher says, Mommy, oh, am I on camera? But she says, Daddy's in a little bit of trouble here. You know, there's an old saying, January 1st, you go from a hero to a zero when all those numbers go away from your name. And right now, Aulby actually is losing a little of his confidence he's had over the years. He needs a good performance.
Professional bowler that's won just about everything, and one award that he won recently. We're very happy for him. Probably could have won it every year, the Steve Nagy Award.
Sportsmanship award for a nice guy, and that's probably because he only won $32,000 last year. He wasn't beating the brains out of everybody.
And of course, last year was so bad because his father Jim died of a stroke July 4th and set Mike back as it would any child.
Mike said he didn't pick up a ball for more than 3 months, and he's worked himself back into shape. The relentless Dave D'Entremont, 38-pin lead.
Well, we'll see what Dave does with a 310.
Well, the picture tells the story. He did not project the ball as wide as we've seen his other previous shots on this lane. Pays the penalty, goes high with the 310 baby split, needs to get the ball next to the 3, have it deflect into the 10. D'Entremont's on a roll. I don't see why he should miss this today. Except I can jinx him, Chris. Well.
We've all missed those, haven't we?
Well, here's a 16-pound ball in the big break. You need to cut the hook down to get the deflection. D'Entremont's ball pays dividends for a strike ball, but he is a little bit suspect when it comes to making those tight little splits, and now he's opened the door for Mike Aulby. Aulby, if he strikes out, could be 221. D'Entremont only going at a 216 pace. 3 frames remain.
.610 on the left.
Big D giving one of the toughest a chance. As Aulby cogitates, he knows he's back in the match. Lane seemed pretty solid here. D'Entremont just getting a little cute. He's not being aggressive, and you have to be aggressive in that championship match. And keeping that ball speed up, he's let the ball drift high.
Still disappointed, disgusted. Now, Mike Aulby. What will he do here in the 8th frame?
The man who led this tournament, Chris, by a phenomenal 715 pins. That only eclipsed by the great Dave Davis, who led a tournament in 1980 by 770.
Another left-hander. Seven.
The irony of these big tournament leads, we saw Duke set the records last year, go down to Brian Goebel in the championship round. And once again, Dave Davis, who led by a bunch, was defeated by Aulby in 1980, and Aulby on the ropes here in 1995. You know, I think that's the hardest part of the tour. You have to be a long-distance runner for 5 days to get to the championship round, partner, but then you have to be a sprinter on Saturday afternoon, and it's time for Aulby to kick it into high gear. Aulby with a stroker-type play. He plays the smooth, even roll. You can see his ball trajectory right here. He'll open that shoulder, cock that wrist, and he needs a strike right here.
All right. Now D'Entremont shooting in the 9th, spare up. Well,
the door has swung wide open for Mr. Aulby. The big D with the 4-6, basically impossible. He'll just try to either bounce the 6 off the back or the reverse the 4 off the back, but he needs to make sure to get one pin, what we call somewhat of an impossible spare. I'd say the odds are 1,000 to 1. Just keep your stroke and throw it hard. Gave it a go.
The Buckeye and the Hoosier battling down to the wire for the championship, Peoria Open.
D'Entremont looks to the official scoreboard on the side and realizes his what seemingly insurmountable lead of 3 frames ago has dwindled to a point where he's only 13 pins ahead, and now he needs 2 strikes and 8 to shut out Aulby. Aulby knows it. D'Entremont knows it. The fans know it. Let's see who can perform for the big bucks. Aulby is not shut out. It remains to see what D'Entremont does with this shot. Remains to see how much Aulby will need. He may need 1 or 2 strikes to win the tournament.
Took no time.
Important that D'Entremont get at least 7 on this ball. If he gets 7, he will force Aulby to strike twice in the 10th. If he gets 6, Aulby can go strike 9 spare for a tie.
Pressure. 203 by D'Entremont, who defeated Bowker 210 to 204. Now Aulby.
Aulby must strike on the next 2 balls. He'll get the count. He only needs 4 to win the tournament. Must strike next 2 shots. Chris, when he let that ball go, he believed he had struck. That is Aulby's best. Unfortunately, he is not going to win the tournament. D'Entremont wins the tournament sitting on the bench. Aulby cannot ever want this shot back. Unfortunate. An excellent shot. Did not pay dividends.
All right. Dave D'Entremont has won back-to-back championships. Last week in Florida, today